So yesterday, using the tractor to try and get some land cleared here, and using the bush hog, all of a sudden everything stopped working because the PTO shaft decided to come out and then spill all the fluid everywhere. So thankfully today, as I work on this, I won't have to drain any of the fluid because it's already naturally done it. So I've got my little shop bench here, which is my 71 Ford that'll be serving as that, and we've got the shop manual here from Ford. We'll try and use this to figure out exactly what we're doing. I've never done this before, but I figure with some tools and a little bit of knowledge from this book, we might be able to make it happen. So step one is to have the PTO in the engaged position. This is an independent PTO with the 8-speed, and as it failed yesterday, my instinct was to just go ahead and turn it off, because I could just envision a bunch of rotating parts in there that weren't connected anymore, and it scared me. But in the actual manual, it literally tells you to, let's see if we can find it here. There's all these different ones. The one that is actually for this one, okay. Be ensured that the PTO shift lever is in engaged position. Oh boy. So step one is to remove these bolts. It says remove the 4 outer bolts, and once we do that, we'll remove these 4 inner bolts, and we'll see what we have from there. Looks like we have a little more fluid coming out. So the bearing is stuck in there. I've got one snap ring right here, and the seal is still within this cover plate here. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to get this out, because I can see the other snap ring right in there behind it. So thankfully, I'll try and show you here. Looks like that snap ring is hanging out right there. I'm really hoping I can just grab that and pull it out. Yep, got it. So now we do not have to worry about that being way in there, and it is pretty bowed. I don't know if you can tell. But it looks like it's seen better days, and that's probably why this whole apparatus failed here. Alright guys, so in order to get this bearing out, I've got a 1 1/8 wrench. I don't know if you can see that. Let me make sure the camera can. Yeah, so I got a 1 1/8 wrench, and what I'm doing here is it has just enough to go on the inside here and not be in any position where it's going to mess anything up. So I'm able to pivot off of this portion of the housing as leverage. So as I put this here, let me get it lined up. I've got it as far as I can get it inside, and as you can see, it's on this lip here. So I'm pulling this way, and it's starting to move it outwards, and I'm just going to work my way around this. I'm going to switch to the other side now, 1 1/16 inches. It's a little bit smaller now that we're getting closer to the edge. It said in the manual that it was supposed to come out with the shaft, but nothing's really been going the way it's supposed to, or else it would have stayed in while I was bush hogging. So it's alright. We'll keep on figuring out different ways to get this stuff done. So the problem I'm running into now is I've lost my leverage. It's just too far away. So I'm going to try and see if I can regain that leverage by adding just a little bit of a buffer here. And it looks like that's working. We'll see for how long though. I don't have any sort of fancy pullers or anything. I'm literally doing this out in the middle of the woods. Just working out of a simple toolbox, trying to make this work. And I know it's not the best way to do things, but just using what I've got. All right, we're able to capture that bearing, so that worked out pretty well. But as you can see, the bearing looks great. It's not like it marred up the surface of it by me pulling it out that way. That all looks like it's in great shape. So that's good news. So I thought I wouldn't have to drain all the fluid out, but as you can see, the fluid level is making that look like a football, which scared me at first. I thought something was crushed, but I'm gonna have to drain all this fluid out. Okay, so numerous times I read where the shift collar, which, let me find it, is right here, number 10, it can fall out of place if the PTO shift lever has been moved while the PTO output shaft is removed. So, as I described a little bit earlier, when I went to go do this and the shaft came out of the rear housing, I disengaged the PTO lever. And so I did exactly what they don't want you to do, which is bad for me, but good for anybody that's viewing here. And so I'm going to show you what that's causing me now. So, well, hopefully it'll focus here. Come on now. I don't know if you can see, but that shift collar is preventing me from putting the PTO shaft all the way back in. So the shift collar, as you remember, was about halfway where it was supposed to be. It had dropped down. And so we had to get that to come back to a nice workable position where we could shove the PTO shaft back inside of it. So, hoping you'll be able to see this. Trying to use all that I have. And it is no longer in the way. You probably will see all of that grease. There's a ton of grease I just packed in there. And I'm going to show you what I did in order to do that. I learned this on one of the tractor forums, and literally the first time I tried it, it worked great. So I've got a broomstick here, and I took my knife and I just carved it down into a nice point so it fit in that little teeny little opening that it had, to push it back up and round it out. So it basically went and grabbed it here, and then as I shoved the broomstick in, it filled it all up. And then there was so much grease that I put all on here that it allowed it to just really fill in all the gaps and holes, and it's holding it in there in place. So that's great news, and hopefully we won't have to split the tractor in order to get this thing to cooperate. Okay, so what I've done here is, in order to get this seal out, right in here, I've taken a piece of PVC, because I felt like, if anything, that wasn't abrasive enough to score any of the inside of this portion here as I'm trying to get out that seal. I don't have any sort of bearing or seal kit, so I'm just trying to make do with what I have. So I've taken a piece of PVC. I don't know exactly what dimensions it is, but I just sanded it all down to where it would fit pretty snugly, just around this whole area here. and I'm going to try and beat it out. I've got a pretty seasoned piece of white oak here. I swear I'm not a Flintstone because I'm not working on a workbench. I'm just, again, out in the middle of nowhere. So just trying to make do with what I have. And I'm going to try and beat this thing out of here and see how it works. Wow, so forget the hammer. That 4x4 post really did it in. And there's the seal. Oh, that was simple enough. Now that's just pushing right on out of there. So that's pretty great. Now I never had any issues with the seal, just the snap rings that went bad. So now the trip's going to be to New Holland to get a new seal, some new snap rings. I'll clean this up a little bit with some brake cleaner, and we'll see if we can't reinstall it.